Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, 250-plus markets across the United States of America, and, of course, on ESPN, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Jam-packed show coming your way today. Obviously, the news, I mean, if you watched SportsCenter and you're interested in highlights, did you see that move James Harden put on Wesley Johnson? I mean, my Lord. Lord have mercy. I mean, shook him down, put the ball between his legs, drove left, pushed off a little bit, but nevertheless shook Wesley Johnson to his knees and ultimately his backside. Stood there, stared at him, flicked the ball, all right, stepped back with your right foot to make sure you were behind the three-point line. James Harden called his mama, called his woman, called everybody and said, "How y'all doing?" before launching a three-pointer that went in while Wesley Johnson was on his backside, just getting up, laughing at himself, by the way. And that's essentially, the not top 10 list for Wesley Johnson. He will lead that pack. There is no question about that. What ultimately comes down to is this. You look at Houston and you look at James Harden and you look at what's going on and you find yourself asking the question, is this a legitimate threat to the Golden State Warriors? And if not them, who? There's nobody in the East that's a threat. I look at it from several other fronts. I don't think anybody's a legitimate threat to the Golden State Warriors other than the Golden State Warriors themselves. Their level of interest will determine whether there are competitive series that take place or whether it's an annihilation. Either way you slice it, it is what it is. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. You know, there's something on my mind. There's something that rakes my nerves. And I got to admit to you, it's kind of hard for me to hold back from saying this. I mean, I think about Dolan in New York. I think about Gilbert in Cleveland. I think about Buss when he was running the Lakers. I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be calm, cool, and collected. But we have this debate going on because of what I read to y'all yesterday in regards to Adam Silver, the commissioner of the National Basketball Association, sending out this letter to teams, essentially saying to them, don't be stupid enough to get caught tanking, because if you do, there's going to be severe penalties. He's essentially acknowledging the fact that there are teams that will try to position themselves for what's best for their future. And as a result, you know what? You still have to put a product on the floor where guys are actually going out there competing and trying to win. I get all of that. And I understand that. And I understand why the commissioner would feel the need to send that message, because essentially what you're doing is imploring teams not to be stupid enough to flagrantly expose and display what they're doing. I take it a step further and I think of things differently. I was told yesterday, League's Board of Governors met in New York. That's the 30 league owners and what have you. About 9 teams in the NBA are not doing so well, although the league as a whole is flourishing very, very much so. But when you look at a team like Memphis, maybe you should consider moving to Seattle. When you look at a team like Charlotte, maybe you should consider moving, even though I'm not sure Michael Jordan is willing to do something like that. But it's all about the business of making money, and I get all of that. Here's what's raking my nerves to no end, to the point where it's making me emotionally and verbally volatile. I really have a big time problem when people walk around acting like this process that the Philadelphia 76ers invoked years ago when they were losing games on purpose, stinking up the joint, being god awful and unapologetic about it while telling their fan base exactly what their intentions were. I have a problem with people, A, who give the impression that that's okay, and B, that the fans agree with them. Because I got news for you. You shouldn't. You can sit up there and say what you want. I'm not trying to sit up there and say that, okay, James Dolan has been god-awful as an owner and a steward of the New York Knicks franchise. And as a result, where are you going? Might as well tank the joint. What sense does it make to be middle of the road? I'm not trying to say that I don't understand that thinking. Here's my problem with it. Who says stinking up the joint and stockpiling draft picks and building through the drafts is the only way to be successful? There are a multitude of ways to do it, and it can be all inclusive. You don't have to just do the draft. You don't have to just do free agency. You don't have to just create cap space. It's a combination of all of those different things. But what rakes my nerves and gnaws away at me to no end is this notion that we sit here in America today with billions of dollars at stake, with the multi-billion-dollar television rights deals that are negotiated by leagues, whether it's the NFL or the National Basketball Association or anything else. And we send 18 and 19 and 25-year-olds out there to compete. But grown-ass men who are executives get to sit there and tear the pass. So as an executive, let's be clear. You don't have to be great. It's okay. Stick up the joint. It's all right. Don't even worry about it. You can stink. You have our blessing to stink up the joint and lose day after day after day. And it's okay while you're sending kids out there to compete, imploring them to do their best. And oh, by the way, holding them hostage by dangling dollars in front of their face and saying, you produce, we'll give you this money. You don't, we won't. But it doesn't apply to you as an executive? What sense does that make? What sense does that make? Woman or man, black, white, Hispanic, or beyond, young or old, any executive out there, I dare you to call up this show and justify that. It is a disgrace that any executive talks about losing on purpose. It's a disgrace. And that's why I like the mandate that Adam Silver handed down with his written statement. I am not saying in any way, look, ladies and gentlemen, it's an 82-game schedule. 50, 60 games in, you know you're eliminated from the playoffs. The lower amount of games you win, the higher the probability is of you getting a draft pick. I understand that once your season is over. But the reason why you continue to, and you absolutely positively always will hear me excoriate the process that existed in Philadelphia is because Sam Hinkie and those boys, and this is not Sam Hinkie's fault. The owner gave him the cue to do it. But Sam Hinkie and Josh Harris and the Philadelphia 76ers were losing games on purpose. They were not competing. They were putting together a weak, pathetic roster devoid of veterans who would teach guys how to win. All they were doing was stockpiling picks and creating cap space while taking the paying customers' money, winning 19 games one year, 18 games another year, 10 games another year, unapologetically. That is inexcusable, ladies and gentlemen. That cannot be allowed. And Adam Silver saying what he said was exactly the right point to make because it is disgraceful. And all I'm asking is a simple question. If the executives don't have a license to compete, who the hell are you to tell the players they need to? I mean, if we're going to lose on purpose, let's all lose on purpose. Why don't the players get a pot belly like myself? Why don't the players go on the beach and chill out and don't work out? Why don't they eat cheese doodles for dinner? Why don't they eat McDonald's and or KFC for breakfast? Why don't they do? Why train? Why do anything if you try to lose on purpose? I'm just saying. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Street light. I'm not going to even try to sing today because my throat's messed up. Oh, I would bless y'all with my non-singing voice. I would. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio. You kick that music, cat. You hear me in my Barry White tone trying to smooth my way through this read while the lyrics are spewing over the airwaves. Get the feeling of being rewarded with gold status at Shell with the Fuel Rewards program. Download the Fuel Rewards app. Join and start saving 5 cents a gallon today. Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. Let's get back to it. At 888-729-3776, hour number 2, I'm going to get into talking to you about a coach that's on a hot seat and deservedly so. I'm going to get into a lot of football items as it involves Kirk Cousins and the New York Jets, as it involves Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys, plus Doc Rivers, Mark Jackson. And I got some news that L.A. needs to be aware of. Stick around for hour number 2 on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. I got some news that L.A. needs to be aware of. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Gary in Jersey City. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, G.
Hey, good afternoon, Stephen A. Love the show. I would like to thank you at the top just for your tempered and nuanced attitude towards race and ethnicity. It's something that's much needed at the current time and always. So you do a great job at it.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. I wanted to there are 2 things I wanted to address. Number one, I was thinking about the problem with the NCAA and players getting paid. Wouldn't it make sense, or do you think it would make sense, to just establish the G League, eliminate the ability for 18-year-olds to just jump to the pros, and for the guys who want to go to college, use the baseball model and have them sign on for 3 years? And they get paid. And
well, listen. Let me say this. I can't think about all of that right now. I mean, I like it, but I will tell you this. I'm a proponent of anything that gets athletes paid, but I also want to emphasize that while I am a proponent of student athletes not being exploited, I'm a proponent of eradicating this notion of amateurism in college sports when administrations get paid, but these guys do not. I also want to emphasize this. I am a capitalist. Everyone doesn't deserve the same. You know, a football player at Alabama deserves more than a football player at Villanova. A football player at Michigan or Ohio State or even Oregon, for crying out loud, or Oklahoma or Georgia, they deserve to get paid more than some dude at Drexel. Okay? And in basketball, you North Carolina, you Duke, you Kentucky. The money needs to be a little bit different than if you are at North Dakota State. I'm sorry. That's how it is. There's a capitalistic society, and let's stop hiding behind that reality and embrace it. I'm telling you right now, Gary, I work for ESPN. Y'all could call me an arrogant SOB or whatever you want to call me. Damn it, everybody don't deserve to get paid as much as me. I'm going to tell you right now. Not with the work that I put in. My understanding of the fact that this is a revenue and ratings business. If I'm bringing in revenue and I'm bringing in ratings and I'm doing it at a higher level than anybody else, I deserve to get paid more than anybody else. That's how I'm a capitalist. And damn it, that's the American way. And I refuse to apologize for it. What about you, Gary?
I totally agree. And I think it's amazing that you're getting more paid for your intellectual ability and not for your athletic ability, and that is not something that ever comes to the table. I'm a former AP student, so I completely agree. And I understand the exceptionalism of the athletes, but I find it amazing that it's only applied to one arena. Now,
Fair enough.
Being stated,
go ahead.
That being stated,
go ahead, Gary.
The other thing that I was going to bring up is that the reason that teams are allowed to tank in the NBA is because you have a closed universe where there is no punishment to the corporation that finishes last.
That's fair.
Not the employee.
That's fair, but that's because, listen, that's because finishing last is punishment within itself. I got to get ready to go, Gary, but please understand that's what they're saying. Finishing last is punishment in and of itself. So really, I think it's incumbent upon the fan base out there to say, okay, you stink up the joint, we're not going to support you, because that's the ultimate form of discouragement. Like, Gary, I would tell you that when we sit up there and give these endorsement deals and these mega dollars to people who never win, we don't help ourselves. Where's the incentive to win if you're rewarding losing?
I totally agree, and that was why one of the reasons I called was about the whole non-capitalist society that's Europe. They have in all their professional leagues relegation. So if you're in the bottom three and you stink,
got it.
You go to the minors.
Gary, I got to run, but please call back. Let's continue this conversation down the road. Thank you so much for it, buddy. Thank you. Let's go to Rock in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Rock, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going today, Stephen A?
I'm good, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm real excited of seeing the Rockets play, but I'm thinking the only way they might have a chance in order to beat the Golden State Warriors, they're going to have to play team deep. It's not going to be standing around, passing the ball around, and going one-on-one. They're going to have to play some straight-up defense. They almost have to play almost a flawless game.
And Rock, don't leave out the fact they're going to have to share the basketball. James Harden, is special and phenomenal and fantastic as he is, you are not beating the Golden State Warriors dribbling the basketball and dancing on dudes in isolations. It's not going to happen. You're not, I promise, America, it will not beat the Golden State Warriors. They're too lethal. They're too lethal and too lethal defensively. They're not going to let you do that. They're not going to let it happen.
One more thing, sir.
Go ahead, real quick.
One more thing before I go.
Hurry up.
I'm getting married tomorrow the 17th. I need a mother and son dance song. I chose Happy Feelings.
Hold on, stop right there. So you're getting married tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you need a mother, and you need a mother and daughter dance song?
No, a mother and son dance.
Oh, mother and son dance song. All right. Latest, greatest inspiration, Teddy Pendergrass. You just keep on lifting me up now. Remember that song?
No, who seen that? I didn't hear that.
I think it was Teddy. Go to the movie. Do you remember the movie The Wood with Omar Epps and Taye Diggs and those boys? They played it when Taye Diggs was marrying Lisa Ray. Go to that movie, hear that song, and play that. I got to bounce. Now get on out of here. I'm the love doctor.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! We spent the first hour talking about what's going on with the Golden State Warriors, what's going on with Houston and how much of a threat they are. I alluded to a couple of other things. I talked about the tanking in the NBA because I think it's just disgusting, and I applaud Commissioner Adam Silver for coming out and pointing out that it would not be tolerated. Basically, he can't do but so much unless somebody is stupid enough to advertise the fact that they're throwing games. I have a problem with the fact that you have executives out there, or I don't care if it's one like the process in Philadelphia or anything else. I got a problem when an executive doesn't have to go out there and compete, and it resonates with me profoundly because look what Phil Jackson did. Phil Jackson laid on his behind with his bad hips and did virtually nothing other than draft Porzingis. All right. He undermined and devalued Carmelo Anthony at every turn and then left the New York Knicks, but left with every dollar intact, left with all 60 million of the dollars that Dolan promised him for 3 years work, even though he agreed to 5 years. And Dolan made the right decision by getting rid of him. Make no mistake about it. Don't get me wrong. But it's just an absolute damn travesty that this situation is what it is in New York. But we can continue to talk about that as the show progresses. I want to transition to a couple of other subjects, a few other subjects. Number one, this story going on in Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a coach by the name of Mike Jeffcoat. Right now, his job is in jeopardy. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Let me tell you why. He coaches at Texas Wesleyan University. He's the head baseball coach. I do not celebrate somebody getting fired, but this man getting fired today, he brought it on himself. Ladies and gentlemen, a kid out of high school wanted to come and play baseball for his program. This is what Mike Jeffcoat, a former Major League Baseball player, mind you, wrote to the kid. He said, quote, "Thanks for the interest in our program. Unfortunately, we are not recruiting players from the state of Colorado. In the past, players have had trouble passing our drug test. We have made a decision to not take a chance on student athletes from your state. You can thank your liberal politicians. Best of luck wherever you decide to play." Ladies and gentlemen, that's discrimination. Last time I checked, that's a fireable offense. And think about it. You're this kid. You have no troubled background, no history of an inability to stay off the weed. Nothing like that. And just because you're from the state of Colorado, which legalized marijuana use, this coach said, "We ain't touching you." You're attaching a presumption of guilt. You're saying that because they're from the state of North Carolina, state of Colorado, you know what? They're associated with weed. You don't want them. That's discrimination. That is discrimination. I went on First Take this morning. I said the man should be suspended immediately, and I'd be having a conversation, at the very least, as to whether or not he should keep his job. Am I wrong to any of the executives out there? Am I wrong for saying he should have been suspended? Am I wrong for saying that there should be a conversation about his tenure and whether or not he should be terminated? Yeah, he got political. Clearly he leans right instead of left because he brought up liberal politicians. That's cold. We get that. But to me, that's not even the biggest offense. The biggest offense is the kid had no background involving drugs. And you said, I'm going to discriminate against him just because he's from the state of Colorado. Y'all have any idea how nonsensical that statement is? Texas Wesleyan University's head baseball coach, Mike Jeffcoat, as a result, has been fired after he received backlash over an email he sent to a prospective player from Colorado, telling the player that he doesn't recruit athletes from Colorado because of the state's marijuana laws. Mike Jeffcoat played 10 years in the majors, was separated from the university Thursday morning because of derogatory remarks made in an email to the Colorado recruit. Quote, "The idea that we would discriminate on the basis that this email suggested is totally inappropriate here and does not comport with our policies and procedures or with our values as a university," Texas Wesleyan president Frederick Slaybach said. Also contributing to Jeffcoat's termination was an undisclosed NAIA rules violation the university had been investigating for a week, Slaybach said. He didn't provide details because the investigation was ongoing, but said the university had, quote, self-reported, end quote, to the NAIA. A screenshot of the email was tweeted out Wednesday afternoon by a Denver radio host. Ladies and gentlemen, I take no pleasure in somebody being fired. I don't enjoy it at all. And I wasn't calling for the man to be fired. I was calling for him to be suspended, and I thought there needed to be a discussion as to whether or not he should still have a job. But I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't losing no sleep over this man's dismissal. How in God's name do you discriminate against a state when you coaching in the state? I'm sorry, you're not coaching in the state, Texas Wesleyan. But I'm saying, how you gonna discriminate against a state? Has nothing to do with ethnicity. Nothing like that. You're discriminating against somebody just because of where they preside. It wasn't this kid's fault that he lives in Colorado. What's he got to do with that? And by the way, it's not the only state. Colorado's not the only state that legalizes marijuana. There's about 7 or 8 states that does that. You bias against them too? You bias against them? It's about 7 or 8 of them. D.C. I'm right here in D.C. right now. I was just at the Warriors Wizards game last night. D.C. has legalized marijuana use. 26 states at least authorizes its use for medicinal purposes, how many states you discriminating against? You can't say what he said. You can't do it. You just can't do it. So I am not happy that this man has lost his job. I am not happy that somebody's ability to provide for their family may have been drastically compromised. But this is on Mike Jeffcoat. He did this. He is the one who did this. You can't say something like that. You can't believe that. You can't exercise that kind of action off of that thinking. You can't do that. I'm not going to recruit in a state and to write it. We have made a decision to not take a chance on student athletes from your state. You can thank your liberal politicians. Really? What did this kid have to do with that? That's a disgraceful statement on the part of Coach Mike Jeffcoat. I'm sorry he's fired. But I'm even sorry he was stupid and insensitive enough to make those comments. He brought it on himself. He brought it on himself.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A.
Ha-ha! Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, is presented by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive, no small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. 16 minutes past hour number 2 back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. A couple other things I want to get into before we get back to the phones. There's rumors circulating that Doc Rivers could be the kind of candidate that James Dolan would be interested in bringing to New York, Gotham City. I think this is a mistake. I think this is Doc Rivers' last season in the Clippers. With the Clippers, is what I've heard for months. Whether or not that reaches fruition remains to be seen. I happen to think that Doc Rivers is one of the great coaches in the game of basketball. Regardless of how many people try to critique him and say he can't coach, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Doc Rivers can coach. Doc Rivers' problem is when he tried to be an executive too. But Doc Rivers can coach the game of basketball. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I think that Doc Rivers is good for about 20 or 25 different jobs in the NBA. I just don't think New York is best. Because of how he will have departed from the Clippers now that Jerry West is basically running the show. Regardless of what they try to say. With Mr. Consultant tag, please stop that nonsense. This is Jerry West show, okay? But let's be clear about something. Doc Rivers is not the right man for the job in New York. That job would happen to be for Mark Jackson. I'd pick Doc Rivers' assistant, Mike Woodson, to return to New York before Doc Rivers because I think Mike Woodson got screwed over. I think if you were going to bring in Derek Fisher, you should have left Mike Woodson there and Phil Jackson should have just taught Mike Woodson the damn triangle. That's what I think. But having said all of that, let's be clear about something. I mean, after all, Mike Woodson did end a 13-year drought as Atlantic Division champions with the Knicks when they won 54 games that season. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get to a bigger issue. We need to understand what's going on in New York City. The New York Knicks have been so pathetic, so moribund, so demoralizing to the psyche of basketball fans throughout this city and beyond, in its outskirts. You don't just need a coach. I don't think Jeff Hornacek could be gone because he can't coach. I think Jeff Hornacek can coach. I think he's a quality guy. I just think he deserves to be back in Phoenix. Because in New York, something different is required. And what's required in New York is somebody with the capability to galvanize the troops. And more importantly, to coax New Yorkers into giving them the benefit of the doubt. Phil Jackson was supposed to be that guy. But Phil Jackson would speak in September and then disappear until April, with the exception of a few tweets he would throw out there, being all passive-aggressive. Carmelo Anthony was the spokesperson. You can't be the spokesperson when you then got to turn around and go out there and perform on a night-in, night-out basis. We'll want to hear what Carmelo Anthony says when he drops 40, when he drops 15, on 5 or 30 shooting. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear from him. So that's your problem when a player is your spokesperson. So what you have to do is, why Mark Jackson? First of all, he could coach. Secondly, he proved that in Golden State before he was disallowed the ability to finish the job. Thirdly, and more importantly, when you look at Mark Jackson, here's what transpired. Mark Jackson was the one that wanted to keep Klay Thompson, didn't want to trade him for Kevin Love. Mark Jackson was the one that wanted Iguodala on the squad, but without giving up Klay Thompson. Mark Jackson was the one that drafted Draymond Green. Mark Jackson was the individual that was out there. Mark Jackson's the individual that grew up in Queens, that played in O'Connell Park, and City College in the summertime, and Rutgers League. He's the one that went and starred at St. John's, but was a reserve before that when they went to the Final Four. He's the guy that ultimately came out in the draft, was drafted by the New York Knicks like 18th overall. I believe it was in 88, and was Rookie of the Year for the New York Knicks under Rick Pitino. That's that Mark Jackson. And that Mark Jackson is the one that could get in the front of the microphone because of his principled positions about the way things should go down. And when he speaks, he'll be like E.F. Hutton. New Yorkers will listen. And when he talks, you'll be inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's what Steve Mills needs, so he can operate in the dark. That's what Scott Perry needs, so he can operate in the dark. That's what James Dolan needs, so he can continue to go and play his damn guitar. That's what you need. You need somebody that can hold it down without you even thinking about the front office or ownership, because they got all of this lower level stuff handled. That's Mark Jackson. Doc Rivers is accustomed to being an executive now, not just a coach. Doc Rivers has got more basketball than most of us know. You really think he's going to want to answer to Scott Perry or Steve Mills? I don't think so. That's why Mark Jackson's the right man for this job. In L.A., as I told y'all about some news, I wish I had similar sentiments for Luke Walton. I do not. Luke Walton might be in trouble, y'all. I personally think he's doing a decent job this year, considering the talent. But what I can't escape is this feeling, this emotion that I have when it comes to Luke Walton. I cannot escape it. I just can't. And you know what that emotion is? When LeVar Ball called him out and talked about how he can't coach young players and that players in the locker room were talking about him, Magic Johnson didn't speak for 4 days. 4. And ladies and gentlemen, that just reminded me that Magic Johnson ain't the one that hired him. That was Jim Buss and Jeannie Buss. Luke Walton arrived there before Magic Johnson became president of basketball operations. And knowing Magic Johnson, everything about his history says he does things his own way. He's Frank Sinatra in basketball, doing it my way. And let me tell you something. Magic Johnson, with David Fizdale out there, the former coach in Memphis, don't think for 1 second that Magic Johnson ain't out there looking at options. If he's looking at other players, he's damn sure looking at another coach. I'm just of the belief and the mindset that David Fizdale could end up in L.A. And you know what the other reason is that I think is a really big-time possibility that David Fizdale could end up in L.A.? Because it would actually improve your chances of getting LeBron James. David Fizdale was the assistant coach in Miami. When David Fizdale got relieved of his duties in Memphis, who was the first voice to speak up for David Fizdale and how he was getting screwed over? It would happen to be King James. Number 2 on the list would be D. Wade. Or 1 and 1A, because D. Wade and LeBron spoke out in support of their former assistant coach at the same time. When D. Wade got married to Gabrielle Union, it wasn't just LeBron James in attendance. It was David Fizdale there. This man has an exceptional relationship with players throughout the NBA. And I'm here to tell you, he won't say so, but he wants that damn Lakers job. So if Luke Walton wants to keep it, another winning streak would be nice. Other than that, Luke Walton is about to be an opening at the University of Arizona. Sean Miller's in a world of trouble. Luke Walton could always get the job there. I'm not advocating it. I like Luke Walton. If he stays on as the Lakers coach, I have no issue with it. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. David Fizdale and L.A. I've been hearing it for weeks. And damn it, it makes sense. As much as I like Luke Walton, it makes sense. 888, say ESPN. By the way, when we say Dollar Shave Club, if the first thing that pops into your head is an amazing, affordable shave, then we're about to blow your mind. Dollar Shave Club delivers to you everything you need to look, smell, and feel your best. Shampoo, body wash, toothpaste, of course, the best razors you'll ever use. For a mind-blowing experience, join Dollar Shave Club today. And for just $5 with free shipping, you'll get the 6-blade executive razor plus trial sizes of shave butter, body cleanser, and 1 wipe Charlie's. That's right, I said it. 1 wipe Charlie's. Then keep the blades coming for a few bucks more a month. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/Stephen A. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Stephen A. By the way, that's with a PH, not a V.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.